Hello everyone and welcome to DevOps HQ. In this video we are going to see that how we can use gRPC in a Spring Boot application, and then we will containerize our application using Docker and deploy it on the top of cloudrun. So let's get started. So for this tutorial we are going to use Maven, and the Java version which we are going to use is 21. Then let's rename this package, that is com.devops, and the artifact should be gRPC, and let's change the description to a Spring Boot gRPC application, and then click on generate. As of now we do not have any official dependencies for a Spring Boot, but if you want to know more about the Spring Boot and how we can use a Spring Boot with the gRPC thing, then we have one documentation, that is gRPC Spring Boot starter documentation. This is not an official one, but this documentation contains almost much of the things which we are going to use in this tutorial. So you can refer this documentation for more details, or if you need any depth understanding of the things which we are going to discuss in this tutorial. So let's extract this zip. And for this tutorial I am going to use IntelliJ IDEA, but you can use any ID of your choice. So let's open the ID, and inside downloads gRPC, open this, and our application has loaded now. So let's go inside main Java and gRPC application. So now we have to add the dependencies of the gRPC. So let's go to the documentation, and from here we have to add this properties. So let's copy these properties from here, and inside our properties just paste this, and then we have to add these two dependencies, these three dependencies actually. So copy these dependencies from here and then add this inside the dependency. So here we have two dependencies, and after that let's add these dependencies as well, and we need some more dependencies, so I am adding those dependencies as well. And I will share my pom.xml file over GitHub such that you can refer to this dependencies as well. So these are the dependencies which we are required, and after adding the dependencies we need some extensions. So let's copy this extensions from here. So inside build we need extension and plugins. So we need one more plugin here, so let's add that plugin. So copy this plugin from here and add this. So these are some of the dependencies which we required. So let me explain a few of this. So these are the io.grpc which we need to create the gRPC server. So these three dependencies, that is io.grpc and this that is net.dev. So these dependencies we need to create our gRPC server, and this jakarta.annotation. So this extension will help us to use the annotations such that like in our classical Spring Boot application we are using the annotations like @REST controller or @Spring Boot application kind of thing. So that's how, like, so similarly like in gRPC we have @gRPC service and @gRPC generator and all. This dependency will help us with that. And this extension, that is OS Maven plugin. So what this extension will do, that it will help us to detect the operating system of the machine. So let's suppose if you are using a Linux operating system or a Windows or a Mac operating system, then this extension will detect that operating system and it will append into this OS detected classifier. And this plugin, the last one which we have added, so this plugin will help us to create the class file from the proto file which we are providing to the application. So all those conversions and everything has been taken care by this plugin. So we have added all these plugins, and now let's refresh our Maven such that it will download all these dependencies and plugins, and it will help us to resolve the errors and conflicts. So here you can see that it has become black from red, so it means all the things are working fine now. And now if we can run our application, then it might be a start on port number 9090. So here you can see that earlier if you start your application, then like basically a classical Spring Boot application uses port 8080, but now we have added all those dependencies which you required for the gRPC service, and basically gRPC service is running on port number 9090, so that's how it's coming. So our server has started and currently it is listening on port number 9090, but as of now we don't have any service which we have created, so that's why we can't make any call to our server. So now let's create some service for this. So for that go inside our main, and here create a new directory and name this directory as proto, and inside this proto I will create one file here. I will name it as health check, or we can create a hello world kind of application. So let's name it as hello.proto, and in the hello.proto we have the content of this is basically the content of our hello.proto. So let me replace the Java package. So I will copy the Java package from here and replace this with the current one, and here we have a request and a response. So in request we are taking a string object such that will able to take some messages from the user, and on response also we are passing a text message to the user, and this is our service, that is hello world service. So what this service will do, this will basically take a request, that is hello world request, and it will return a response. So this is a simple example of a gRPC service. And now we have to compile this proto such that it will create its respective class files, and using which we can create our services. So for that just click on this Maven and click on this compile. So what this will do, that it will compile this proto and it will create the respective class for this. So if I go to target here and if I go to generated sources, and inside protobuf we can see we have a class here, that is hello world service gRPC. And if we go inside this, then we can see that this one here is hello world service gRPC, and then we have the stub for the process, and now we have to override the methods of this service such that we can customize it according to our needs. So for that let's create one more package here. So let's go inside main, and inside DevOps.gRPC let's create one more folder here. And name this package as service. So just type service, and inside this service I will create a Java class. I will name this as hello world service, and we have to use the annotation gRPC service, and then we have to extend this class with hello world gRPC. Okay, so we are not getting our class, so this is our class. Okay, so here we can see that the annotation is not working, due to which we are not being able to extend this class here. So now let's see the dependencies which we have. We have this annotation, but still it's not working. So let's remove this faster XML JSON for now, and we'll see that if it helps. So let's remove this dependency and then file this. So now we can see that this annotations has been working now, because it has changes its color from black to golden. So now let's implement this hello world service gRPC and then hello world some service implementation base. So we have to extend our service class with this one, and then we have to override a method. So we have to override this hello method. So we have to override this method. So remove this super thing, and instead of that what I will do, I will first print the message into the console. So for that I will type system.out.println and then message, and let's print the message. So request.get message. So first we are printing the message, and then now we have to add a response to this. So for that let's create an object of hello world response. So hello world response, and then hello world response is equals to hello world response dot builder dot set message. I will set a message that response from gRPC server, and then dot build, and now we have to add it into response observer. So response observer dot on next will add this hello world response and then complete it. Then this response observer dot on completed. So we get a response, and what we are doing here basically is we will first display the message into the console or into the logs, and then we are setting a message to this response from gRPC server, and we are sending it. So that's it. And now let's restart our server. So our server has started. Now let's open a terminal. And to make a curl request to a gRPC service, we have to use grpcurl. If you are on Mac, then you can use brew, or if you are on Linux, then you can use your packet manager to install the grpcurl. I'll also paste the command to install the gRPC curl on your system in the description below. So now let's see that what are the services we have. So for that, type plain text, then server, that is localhost 9090, and then use list. So it will basically list our services. So here we can see that we have 3 services. So these 2 services has been automatically created by the gRPC Spring Boot service, and this one, that is hello world service. So this is our service. So now let's list and copy this service and paste it here. So here we can see that we have a service that is hello world dot hello. So now let's make a request to this service. So here for that, type grpcurl -- plain text, and we have to pass a message to this. So for that, put single quote, and inside single quotes within parentheses we have to provide a message. So that is message colon, and then here we have to pass arrow from DevOps issue, and then localhost colon 9090, and then we have to pass this service name. So that is hello world dot hello. So what we are currently doing here, we are making a request, and let me open the proto. So here we have in the hello world request, so inside the hello world request we have an object of a string, that is message. So that is the message which we are sending here. You can see that message hello world request, and in response what we are doing, so here we are also sending this message that is response from the gRPC server. So now let's make this call. So here we can see that we are getting response from our server, that is response from gRPC server, and here in the logs you can see that a message has came that is hello from DevOps HQ. So if let's change it, change the message to this gRPC with Spring and hit enter. So we are getting this message here as well. So we have successfully configured the gRPC service in Spring Boot, and now let's see that how we can containerize this Spring Boot application and then deploy it on the cloudrun service. So let's stop the server now and let's go to the terminal here. So for containerizing this Spring Boot application, we will use Docker. So let's create a Docker file. So create a Docker file here, and we are going to use Alpine. So from Alpine Java 21 JDK, what we are doing basically, like, let's create an argument, and inside this argument I will give the path of my jar file. So my jar file will be somewhere inside in this target folder. So jar file is equals to target / star dot jar. So if we go inside our target, you can see that so as of now we don't have a jar file. So what we can do, we can run this package command, and this package will create a .jar file in our target folder. So here you can see that this jar file has been created. So now let's go inside the terminal and do an ls here. So here this will be the jar file. So what I was trying to do is I was copying this jar file into our container, and I will rename it as app.jar. So for that type copy and use this variable jar file. So we have within parentheses and put app.jar, and the entry point should be it should be Java jar comma app.jar. And before running the Docker file, first let's check that our jar file is working or not. So for that, type java jar and copy this name and hit enter. So our server has started, and let's see that if we are getting the input or not. Yes, we are getting the response, and here also logs are getting generated. So our jar is working as intended. So now let's create the Docker file. So we are inside the target now. Here it is. So we have came into the parent directory, and here run the command docker build, and then we have to pass a tag. So for this I will giving spring gRPC version 1, and this is the directory. So for that put a dot and hit enter. Okay, so invalid base image platform. Okay, so it is getting failed. So we have to use another command for creating the Docker image. So it should be docker build x build space hyphen platform space linux hyphen AMD64, comma, Linux, ARM64, and then again we have to use the same name. So I will copy the name from here, that is springboot, to spring gRPC and dot. So copy this from here and paste it here. So our earlier command has failed because of the platform issue. So now for that, we have to use this build command such that we are defining both the things, that is for AMD and ARM processors, and it will build our image. So here our image has been built now. So if we list our images, that is Docker images. So here we can see that our image has been created, gRPC image. Before pushing it into the Docker Hub or to the Artifact Registry, first let's check that if it's working or not. So for that, type docker run -d. -d is for background, such that the process will start in background, and then -p for binding the port. So what I am basically doing here is I am binding my container port to my machine port, that is 9090. So the service which will be running on the container port 9090, it should be accessible through our local host port, that is 9090. And then we have to give a name. So I will name this container as gRPC container, and then we have to give the image name, that is spring-grpc version 1. So that's it, and that's it. So we have a process. Now let's see that docker ps, our process is running. And now let's make the request again. Let's see if we are able to. Yes, so it is working fine. And now our application is running inside a Docker container. So let's open Docker. So yes, so this is our image, and if you go in the container, so this is the container which is running. And if we go inside the details of this, so here we can see the logs of this message. So if I change the message here, gRPC logs, and hit enter, so here we can see that these are the logs of this container. So it is also working as intended. So now let's push this image to the artifact registry, such that from where we will able to deploy it into our cloudrun service. So let's stop this container for now, or I will yes, go ahead, and so we are at our home directory. And now let's go to our cloud, google.com, sign into our console, go to the artifact registry, so here let's create a repository. So I want to name this repository as spring gRPC. It should be a Docker. I want a regional, and I will choose the Asia South one because it's nearest to me. And then yes, that's it. I will click create. So our spring gRPC repository has been created. So let's copy this thing, and let's came inside, create a readme file. I will create a readme file, readme.md, and I will put shell here. So this is my repo. So what I have to do here, I have to tag my image with this name, and then I have to push my image to this artifact registry. So for that, let's see the images. So we have the image name here. So what I will do docker tag this image, that is Spring gRPC version 1 to Asia South 1 docker dot package.docker inside this repository, and I want name this repository as springboot v1. And after adding the tag, I will post this image to the artifact registry. So for that we have to type docker push and then copy this image name. So let's tag this image first. Now we have two images, that is springboot and this one with the name, and here I have to set my cloud project. So for that type gcloud config set compute / project, and we have to give our project ID, that is DevOps-HQ. So what basically I am doing here is I am setting my gCloud project to DevOps HQ such that I will first log in into my project, and after that I will push this Docker image to my artifact registry. So compute is not there. Let's change it to core project DevOps HQ. So my property has been updated, and then I will run a command, that is gcloud auth login, and then I will choose my account. So I am authenticated and I have logged in into my account, and now I will push this image to my account. So it is telling that I don't have the permission for this. So I don't have the permission to upload this image now. So first I have to take the authorization. So for that type gcloud auth configure docker, and then I have to paste my repository. So that is Asia Southeast docker.package.dev, and hit enter. And then I want to continue. So now my docker configuration file has been updated, and now let's try to push the image now. Yes, it has succeeded, and we are successfully able to push our docker image to the artifact registry. So our image has been pushed, and let's refresh this page now. So here we can see that now we have springboot gRPC, and inside that we have this image, that is version 1. So now let's use this image in our cloudrun service. So let's open cloud console, go to the cloudrun services, and here click on deploy container, type service, then select and choose this image. So mine is Asia South 1 Spring gRPC, and this is the image. Click on select here. Service name should be Spring gRPC. I will use the region Asia South 1. I want unauthenticated invocations for this tutorial to keep this simple. And in volumes, my container should run on port number 9090. Memory I will go with 256 MB, it's more than sufficient. And for volumes, let it be networking. Make sure to use HTTP2 end-to-end. So what basically it tries to tell is that if you are using a gRPC service inside your container, then please use HTTP service, otherwise you won't be able to use your gRPC service. And if you want to know more about this, then you can click on learn more and read more about this. So make sure to click on this checkbox, and yes, I think we are good with this. So click on create. So our service has been created successfully. So now let's make some request to this gRPC service. So for that we again have to use the gRPC curl. So for that we need few more things. So this will be the syntax. So first we have to get the endpoint, because the HTTP endpoint what we are getting here, it won't help us in making those gRPC calls. So for that, to get that endpoint through which we will able to make the gRPC call, we have to run this command. So we have to replace these things. If you want, you can put project or reason as an environment variable in your system. So let's edit this command. So here my project is DevOps HQ. So copy the project from here and replace this project variable. Reason is ECS out1. So replace its reason and name. So the name is spring-grpc. And now let's run this command in your terminal. So let's go back to your terminal and run this. So here we will get this endpoint. So now we have to use this endpoint to make our gRPC curl request, because we can't directly use this URL to make those requests. So you have to replace that URL here, and this will be our gRPC curl request URL, and then we have to replace the service. So in our case, the service name is hello world service dot hello. So now let's copy this command and go to the terminal and let's see if we are able to make the request or not. Yes. So we are able to make the request and it is working. And now let's change the message, that is hello from cloudrun, and hit enter. And now let's go to the logs of this service and let's see if we are able to see these logs or not. So here we can see that these logs are visible. I will hide this, and you can see that the two messages which we have run, that is message hello and one more thing, that is okay, not this one. It is hello from cloudrun. Now let's see if we are able to see that our messages came here or not. We can see that hello from cloudrun and message hello, and another message as well. So we are getting our messages, means we are able to make the curl request to our cloudrun service. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will upload all the codes which we have used here or which we have created here into the GitHub repository, and also I will upload this image, this container image, to the Docker Hub repository, such that if you want to pull and do some tests, then you can do it. And thank you so much for watching this video.